As companies increasingly expand their businesses into emerging markets, geopolitical and human capital concerns become more apparent. My guest, Finan, explains how these concerns can be mitigated. Tell me about some of the most pervasive issues that clients tell you about when they're breaking into emerging markets.
The first issue in the current climate is IT and cyber security and risks. And they're quite right to raise those, but it's a mistake to focus on those completely. They just form part of the whole of their business environment, which could be vulnerable to people who want to undermine that business or to misdirect it. And if you find you concentrate too much on the technical side of things, you'll find that you'll then leave open things like the insider threat and the physical security, and that weakness will always be exploited.
Can you tell me, how do your clients respond to this advice?
They tend to respond in two ways. They will act on it, and you'll be an integral part of their planning process from day one. The other sort of client will bring you in on an individual project basis to provide an assessment which forms part of their business planning process. You'll deliver into that, and you may not hear from that particular client until conclusion. However, in the ideal world, you want to be involved from the planning process as early as possible. It's natural people will try to exclude you because there are costs involved, or there may be other priorities. But from experience, it's a misplaced cost issue. You find it's much more effective if you're involved as a security company like ours in the planning process as early as possible.
Now, you also provide in-depth intelligence for clients who are looking to make a major financial transaction, such as an M&A. Can you tell me about some of the advice that you offer in those scenarios?
It's really mimicking what many of the professionals who work behind the scenes of the company did in their previous life, which was working for government agencies. And rather than a single agency, they come from multifacets, military, government and policing environments, and incorporate their specialisations and competencies using their experience on the ground, their practical experience and their relationships. And the critical part is asking the questions and find out the unknowns, and then having a plan to access that information.
When you're dealing specifically with offshore regions, how much of an issue is fraud?
The first sort of advice is do homework first. Leave it to us as specialists. Look at the legislation, and the critical thing is reputational risk. Reputational risk allied with the genuine risk from maybe being exposed to the law. Many people we've found that are not really privy to have those conversations with you. They either don't have genuine access that they purport to have, or they have ulterior motives, which is normally to defraud the client. By doing correct research, engaging, giving yourself enough time, and that's a critical component, time. Of course, if people come on a Friday afternoon, which typically happens with the telephone goes before a meeting on Monday, we will react to that. But with that diminishment in time, there is a reduction in the availability to access information. But as soon as you start exploring into a new region, engage, have a conversation, from that engagement, we will then go on and formulate a plan.
So how does a company such as yours stay ahead of the trend in the intelligence industry?
The critical thing is your relationships. Having good relationships, wide-ranging, but who are known. It's all about reputations here. Reputation can be lost extremely quickly. You want to be able to go to the sources who are in the right place, the right time, with the right access. You can't have complete coverage, but you've got to have the capability to find those answers when you need to. And that's an area of specialisation where we come in, where we're looking at those gaps and know where we can go and find the people who can provide those answers.